Hello everyone and welcome to this hopefully relatively short-ish video on how iRacing's online series works. It can be quite complicated. It looks like there's a lot of stuff going on, but it's actually relatively simple and hopefully I can explain it all to you today. So iRacing itself has a lot of public racing lobbies. Practice lobbies, which are fantastic because there's always people in them, I guess depending on the series, but I drive in a lot of the most frequently used series. So there's always people in practice servers, so I get a chance to map my times to somebody else and compare. I can also sit on board and watch from their cockpit view and see where they're braking and what turning points they have, so you can sort of educate yourself on what the faster drivers are doing. So that's why the public series is a really great way to learn how to drive better from driving with better people. But having said that, depending on what iRating you have, you're never really going to race with people who are far better than you. I've done some private leagues where I will race and I'm stone last because the people in front are like 3.5 seconds faster than me. When you race on the public servers, it's very rare you're going to have people that are that good, unless they're new to iRacing and they're starting to build their iRating up. Eventually they'll be out of your races and they'll be into different splits, but I'm going to explain about all of that. But first, let's just kind of go into a little bit on what the series looks like, or what the main series page looks like. So here we have the series stats. So when you join a series, which you can navigate via iRacing.com, or if you're using their user interface, you can go on Go Racing and then find all the series there. It will depend on your license, but I'll talk about that very shortly. So the series itself will be consisting of over 12 weeks, and you can choose whatever series you want to race in. You can race in as many series as you want, as long as you have the tracks and the cars, okay, depending on what that series requires. So let's use me as an example. I'm racing here in the Touring Car Challenge. It's my first time doing it in this series. We're in season 1 of 2022. Now each season lasts 12 weeks and it has a 13th week at the end, which is a bit more of a gimmicky. You know, they'll put on some random events, like you might have the Porsche Cup on a dirt track, or you might have, I do a lot of oval racing in week 13 because I don't really do it as a series and I don't really mind smashing up my oval license. So what you'll do is you'll have a 12-week season and it'll take your best 8 races of those 12 weeks. So each week from Tuesday to Tuesday there will be a new race week. So you might have race week 1, which if I actually have a look, you won't see the drop down on here. For some reason it doesn't show it on OBS, but so our first race this week, this season, and we're currently now in week 5. Week 1 was Spa, the legendary Spa circuit in Belgium. Now that ran from Tuesday to Tuesday in week 1, and you will then get to race up to 4 times in that week. Okay, so you'll race up to 4 times and the best championship points you score will go towards your race season. I'm going to delve into that a little bit more, but I just want to give you a snapshot of those 12 weeks. So each week the races change and it's your best score of those weeks, and it's your 8 best weeks of the 12, which means you can have a month off and not race and still accrue the needed championship points to really compete. Now, compete in what? Now, this is basically where divisions comes in. Again, I'll explain a little bit more about divisions at the end of this video, but you'll have 10 divisions, and depending on your iRating, you will be placed in one of those divisions at the start of the season. Now, you do not change division throughout the whole of that season. You will stay in that division. Your goal is to try and get as high up that division as possible. If you finish in the top 3, you can earn a little bit of money from iRacing. I mean, we're talking, I think I come second in Division 7, and I think it gave me like $15, which is okay. That buys me a new track or a new car, you know, fine, that's great. You also get a participation credit, so you might get another $10 because you raced in 8 weeks out of the 12, so you competed to the series, so you get like $10 back. which is okay. That pays for like a month of iRacing, which is great. So anyway, you have those divisions. Obviously, what's the goal of it all? Well, you want to try and get to Division 1 and win Division 1. But you can also win the championship from Division 2. If I actually go to the overall, so if you click overall, you'll see here that this is the top 25 currently right now, as of week 5 in the Touring Car Challenge. These are the top 25 out of 11,519. That's how many people are in this championship. 11,000 other drivers. I'm currently 1,843rd, which is cack. But at 11,000, it's not too bad, but not all of those would have done 5 weeks, so I'm kind of ahead because I'm keeping up to date with the series. If you don't watch any of that, check out my live streams and you can join my journey on that. But anyway, the top 25 will be on the first page, but you can also see the person in 5th place is actually in Division 2. So it's almost like, even if you're in Division 2, doesn't mean you can't compete with Division 1. Because remember, the divisions are decided from where you your iRating when the championship or the season starts, and you don't change division. So even though this person here is Division 2, they're probably going to be Division 1 next season. And again, I'll talk about how that will happen towards the end of this. But anyway, so can I just do any series? Can I do any races that I want? No, it depends on your license. Now, the way that licenses work is when you get a license, or when you first start in iRacing, you'll get a rookie license. You have to race, I think, at least 4 weeks and keep it relatively clean, and you'll eventually get your D license. You'll start on 2.4. Now, as you race, the more corners you have in a race, or the amount of length of the race, so how many corners you do in a race, they put that in an algorithm with how many incidents you had. So if you had more corners with less incidents, you'll actually improve your license. So you might go from 2.4 and you might race and you might gain, 0.12 on your license. So you will then go up to 2.52, if that makes sense. Now at the end of the season, if you're above 3, you will get promoted at the end of the season to the next license above, which is then a C license. And what that does is that now opens up to some racing series that are only for C license and above. And the reason why is because those cars are more challenging and they're more faster. A license, you've got some of the really quick cars, okay, which would be crazy if someone who's just come off of the rookie class would go into that. There'd just be mayhem and everyone would get annoyed. So you've almost got to earn that. I'm currently a B license. The touring car, you only need a D license or above. So a lot of people are coming over from the rookies, but it's a relatively easy car to sort of handle, but it's not easy to drive fast, as you'll see from my streams. So that's how you improve your license. If at any point you drop below 2, and then the season ends, you will decrease in license. So you've got to try and get it back above 2 again by driving clean, not having incidents, and trying to just drive safely. How many incidents can you get? I think most tracks have like 17 incidents. If you have a light contact, it might be a 0x, which means you get none. It's just a general, little light contact. If it's a significant hit or you go off the road, going off the road will give you 1x, but maybe a significant hit with another car will give you 4x. But it'll also give them 4x because iRacing doesn't have stewards on every single race. There are currently at the minute 5,633 people racing online. Alright, there's been over 4.3 billion laps on iRacing so far from when it started. There's not enough people in the world who are going to be stewards and watching every race. Alright, so they penalise both parties, but if you drive relatively safe and you recognise that the person behind you is a bit crazy and you might overshoot the corner, stay out of his way, let him overshoot and then carry on. You start to pick up on these things and you'll improve your licence over time. The point is, don't get annoyed if your licence starts to drop. Or it could be you're in the wrong series. I've been in the F3 series and it's been insane. Like, I nearly lost my licenses, my iRating massively dropped down. But anyway, that's how licenses sort of work. If you get to 4.0 at any point in the season and you've completed, I think, at least 4 races, you'll automatically go up to the next license before the season's even finished, all right? Anyway, what about iRating? We spoke about that. Now, iRating is basically, if you're familiar with chess, you have an ELO. An ELO is basically how good you are at chess. If I was an ELO of 1,500, which is relatively strong, and I play a 2,000 ELO player, they're going to spank me, all right? That's the same with iRacing. If I have a 1,500 iRating and I race against somebody who's a 2,000, chances are they're going to beat me. But then how do you do this when everyone is in the same server? Because they're not all going to be 2,000. Some are going to be slightly less, some are going to be more. So how does it work out? Well, this is what's something called the strength of field. So when you race, it gets all of the iRatings of everyone that's in that current race, and it works out an average, and that is your strength of field. So it might be that I am a 1,500 iRating. The strength of field is 1,500. That means that I'm racing with an average field of around my ability. If I start to finish higher up in that race, so maybe I finish in the top 5 out of, say, maybe 20 people, if I finish about 10th, I probably wouldn't really improve in iRating, because I'm finishing bang in the middle, bang average, shout out to those boys, bang in the middle of something that's of my ability. The strength of field is the same as my iRating, so I probably won't change my iRating that much. As I start to finish in the top 5, I might add 30 to my iRating. And then the next race, I've now got 1,530. As you start to race better people, your iRating will improve the better you finish. Likewise, it can start decreasing if you start finishing bad, getting knocked out off, or not finishing the races for whatever reason. Now, we said that there's 11,000 people in the touring car. So how can you have that many people racing when you might have a field that's no more than 25 on the track? Well, this is where splits come in. Now, what splits are is there might be 100 people registered at a certain time to race. So say the races are every 45 minutes or on the 45 minute of the hour. So 7:45, 8:45, 9:45. You might have 100 people that are registered on, say, the 7:45 session. But it will then get the top. So say if there's 100, it might divide that by 5 to give 20 people in each split. Now, the bottom 20 of those 100 will go into the bottom split. That strength of field might only be 800. The next split above would be the next best 20 people out of those 100 that are registered, and they might be in a strength of field of 1.1 or 1,100 on the iRating or strength of field. So as you get better and your rating improves, you'll start racing in higher splits. Now that means you're racing against better people. So how does that work with the championship points? Now, like I said before, you get a race 4 times. Now, let me just quickly transfer you over to the iRacing page. Now, this is just a little bit of a recap of my previous week. So we're now racing at Long Beach in week 5, but week 4 we had Knockhill, and it was the reverse circuit, which is absolute chaos but great fun. Now, like I said, you get to race 4 times in that week, and your best score goes to your championship. So you can see here, I raced on the 5th of Jan, and I was in the bottom split. My iRating was relatively low. I was in the bottom split, but I ended up winning the race. In fact, I spanked it so much. I didn't record this session, but I spanked it so much I nearly lapped 3rd place, and there was 20 people on the grid. But I was in the bottom split, so I think the strength of field was only like 1,000, and I was about 1,200, so I was only just above that. But I'm a better driver than that. I think I'm about 1,800 if I'm honest, but I'm on the climb again. Anyway, I won that, and I got 62 championship points. Now, how do they work out the championship points? It's some crazy algorithm, but if you're in the bottom split, you're going to be scoring some of the lower end of the points total for that week. And I got 62 points for winning a race. However, on my 4th race that I did that week, so remember you can have 4 and you take your best one, I actually finished 4th, but I got 72 championship points. That's because it was a slightly higher split. This split was 1,300. It wasn't the bottom split. So again, your iRating is important. the higher your iRating is, the higher splits you race in. The higher splits you race in, the more chance of you getting more championship points per position. Finishing 4th in a second to bottom split got me 72 points, which was actually 10 points more than actually winning the split below in a previous race. So hopefully that makes sense on why iRating is important, and how the sort of championship goes. So let me talk a little bit more about divisions. Now, divisions, like I said, you're trying to compete with people around your ability. So at the start of the season, depending on what your iRating was at the start of the new season, will depend on what division you're in. And I've spoken to some people on some forums who they work for iRacing themselves, and they said it's basically based on this iRating, and this is how they split it. So if you are between 0 and 499 iRating, you're in Division 10. If you're between that and 719, you are then in Division 9. Division 8, you're up to 926 in the iRating. Division 7, you're up to 1,129. Division 6, you're up to 1,277. Division 5, you're 1,439. Division 4, you're 1,717. Once you go above that, you're then in Division 3, which is up to 2,282. And Division 2, you're up to 3,499. And to get into Division 1, you have to be above 3,500 iRating. So you can start in Division 4, but end up spanking everyone, and your iRating will go massively through the roof, and you'll be competing against Division 2 drivers in higher splits, even though you're Division 4, because you're having a great season, and you're probably going to be near the top of the division. However, as your iRating climbs at the end of the season, whatever your iRating is will depend on what division you get then placed into. So if you want to be a Division 1 driver, which I'd admit it would be a great goal to be a Division 1 driver, I want to get my iRating above 3,500. My goal for this season is to try and get from Division 4 to Division 3. Let's break that down into smaller steps. So I'm going to go from my iRating, which is currently 1,500 and is it 40 something? 1,434. I need to get above 1,713 to get into Division 3, which is my goal. So my goal, I'm not even bothered about championship points. I just want to race, and I want to try and beat people that are better than me, or compete really, really high up in the fields of higher strength of field races as my iRating improves, and get myself into Division 3. Then get myself into Division 2, then Division 1, and see what happens there. So that's a bit of an outline of what the iRacing series is all about. Hopefully it makes a little bit of sense. If you do have any further question, pop a comment down below. Give me a like if you got something out of this video. Subscribe if you want to watch me batter myself, or try and hopefully get into Division 3 by the end of this season. And also let me know in the comments what your favourite sort of series is to race in, or if you've not raced in a series yet, which ones do you want to compete in eventually? You'll have to start in the rookie seasons, but do you want to compete in the Formula 1 seasons? Do you want to compete in the touring car? It's great fun. The Porsche Cup, also great fun. F3, be prepared for a lot of chaos. People just seem to smash into everyone on that one. But anyway, you'll learn that as you get involved in it. But thank you very much for watching. Catch you next time.